Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode on our series of contemporary Western philosophers. Last time we had a brief intro about Friedrich Nietzsche. Today we'll go into his philosophy of the human person. Now, Friedrich Nietzsche had a very unique way of looking at human nature. He believed that human beings are driven by a deep inner force which he called the will to power. Now, this idea led him to criticize traditional morality, and he also suggested a new way of living where strong and independent individuals rise above ordinary masses. And therefore, in his concept of will to power, he asks the question, what drives us? And therefore, we see that when we speak about the will to power, first and foremost, we need to, in a way, ask us, what is it that is driving us? What is it that is pushing us? Imagine a tree growing in the middle of the forest. We see that it stretches its branches towards the sky. And in this way, they are competing to, reach that sunlight, pushing past other trees to get stronger. And therefore, this struggle for growth and power is what Nietzsche believed drives all human beings. And this is what he called as the will to power. Now, Nietzsche, in a way, argued that every living being or every living thing wants to express its power and strength. And therefore, survival is not enough. Real life is also about growing, expanding, and overcoming challenges. And he said that people who embrace their inner strength can achieve greatness. For example, think of a person who dreams of becoming a great scientist, or artist, or even an entrepreneur. They work hard, they take risks, and they push past such failures. This is the will to power in action. That is, their inner drive is not just about survival, but it is about becoming something greater. Now, Nietzsche will also speak about the two types of morality. Okay, because he said that there are two ways of thinking about good and evil. Okay, one for the weak, that is the slave, and one for the strong. And therefore, he comes up with these two types of morality: slave morality and the master morality. So let's take a look at what is exactly the slave morality. Now, slave morality he refers to as the morality of the weak. Here he says that people who follow slave morality believe that by being humble, obedient, and passive is good. And therefore they think that suffering is noble. And in this way, they think that the weak should be protected and honored. Now, according to Nietzsche, this kind of morality prevents people from reaching their full potential. Imagine a student who never questions authority, always follows the rules blindly, and never challenges themselves. They believe that just by being quiet and obedient is the best way to live. According to Nietzsche, this is the slave morality. Why? Because it keeps people weak and makes them afraid to take risks. On the other hand, you have the master morality, that is the morality of the strong. And here Nietzsche saw that people who embrace master morality believe that strength, courage, and ambition are good, and they think that weakness, fear, and self pity are bad. Now, Nietzsche argued that the greatest individuals in history, whether they be artists, leaders, or inventors, all of them embraced their will to power, and they did not let society's expectations hold them back. For example, think of an inventor like Elon Musk or Leonardo da Vinci, who challenged the old ways of thinking. They took bold risks and, in a way, were able to reshape the world. Now, these guys are people who don't settle for average, they push beyond limits. Now, this is the master morality, a mindset of strength and greatness. Now, what is the problem with the slave morality? Now, before that, let's come to this analogy of the crab. If you have observed, when crabs are put in a bucket, for example, or in a basin, we see that they always are kind of seen clamoring over one another. Now, actually, what is happening? One of the crab is, in a way, trying to come out of that container or of that bucket, and there are the other crabs that are, in a way, trying to pull it down, trying to jump over them and go ahead of them. This is what generally we refer to as the crab mentality, right? Pulling each other down and therefore obstructing both your progress as well as the progress of the other. So, Nietzsche will see something similar as a problem with the slave morality. Now, what is the problem? He says that the weak try to control the strong by making the strong feel guilty. That means, for example, if there is a person who is, in a way, doing well, or in a way a person who is outspoken, a person who is reaching out to others, those who are weak may try to say he is trying to show off or he is doing things to impress others. So, Nietzsche says that people who follow slave morality are jealous of the strong. They try to convince powerful people that ambition and success are evil. That means if you are successful, they are like, see, your success is not good. It's not good to be ambitious. You must be meek and humble. This is how they try to convince powerful people that what they are doing is wrong. In this way, we see that over time, their mindset, so the mindset of the slave morality people, destroys creativity, genius, and progress. Now imagine an athlete who trains hard, wins competitions, and becomes famous. But people belonging to this slave morality may say, you should be humble, stop being so proud. They try to make the athlete feel guilty for their success. And therefore, Nietzsche would say that this is an example of slave morality, trying to drag down greatness. And therefore, what is Nietzsche's challenge to us? In a way, Nietzsche challenges us to, in a way, embrace the will to power. Nietzsche believed that modern society was too focused on weakness and guilt, and therefore he challenged people to embrace their willpower, to strive for greatness, to take risks, and to be bold. And therefore he told them to reject guilt. Don't let others make you feel bad for being strong. He told them to be a creator, not a follower. Stop obeying society's rules blindly and make up your own path. Now, we see that, imagine if Shakespeare, Einstein, or even Steve Jobs for that matter, had to follow slave morality, they would have never created anything great. And therefore, Nietzsche wants us to live fully by thinking independently and allowing us to reach to our full potential. Next, he speaks about Superman, that is, becoming more than human. And Nietzsche, in a way, believed that humans are not the final stage of evolution. Instead, we are something like a bridge between animals and something greater, which he called as the Superman. Now, imagine a tightrope walker walking over an abyss. This is how Nietzsche describes human existence. We can either fall back into being weak and ordinary like animals, or we can push forward towards greatness and become the Superman. Now, what is a Superman? Superman refers to a person who fully embraces their will to power and somebody who creates their own values. It is not just being strong physically, but also deep, being intelligent, and being independent. So, in a way, this is something like a combination of Roman strength, that is, like a powerful emperor, and Christ like wisdom. Think of a revolutionary scientist, a fearless artist, or a bold leader. These are people who don't follow the crowd, but they create something entirely new. They don't accept limits, they become more than what normal humans usually are. Now, moving forward, Nietzsche will also speak about two ways of dealing with life. Okay, one is the way of Dionysius and the other is the way of Apollo. Now, Nietzsche saw that life was chaotic, dangerous, and even sometimes terrifying. And therefore, he believed that humans use art and culture to make sense of this chaos. And therefore, he identified two opposite forces in art and human life. One is that of Apollo, that is, the god of order and beauty. Now, Apollo represents logic, structure, and discipline. It inspired art that is calm, beautiful, and in a way, it kind of an art that is idealized, like classical paintings and sculptures. Next, he also speaks of it as escapist, that is, makes life seem perfect. Instead of dealing with harsh realities. Imagine a peaceful landscape painting or a perfect statue of a Greek god. Now, this is Apollo's influence, controlled, balanced, and beautiful. On the other hand, you have Dionysius, that is the god of chaos and passion. Now, this represents wild energy, emotions, and raw power. So, this in a way inspired intense, passionate art like tragic plays or even powerful music. It confronts life head on, embracing both beauty as well as suffering. Now, think of rock music or tragic movies or even powerful theater performances. They all express deep emotions and the struggle of life. And therefore, we see that Nietzsche admired Dionysian art more because it embraces the struggle of life instead of escaping from it. He even loved Wagner's early music because it was powerful and intense. But when Wagner started using Christian themes in his operas, Nietzsche rejected him. And now we come to the most interesting or controversial part of Nietzsche, and that is his views on women. Now, Nietzsche had a very negative view on women, and therefore, this makes his philosophy difficult to accept today. Why? Because he saw the Superman as a male ideal and he did not believe in a superwoman. Now, he also felt that women existed mainly to give birth to strong men, that is, the future warriors. He also said that men should be trained for war and greatness, while women should be there only for men's pleasure. He also believed that women were too emotional and incapable of true friendship. Now, if Nietzsche were to be alive today, his views on women would be strongly criticized. Why? Because modern society today values equality, while Nietzsche saw women as weak and secondary to men. And therefore, what are some of the criticisms of Nietzsche's views on women? Now, we see that even though Nietzsche had many brilliant ideas, his opinions about women reflect his personal biases rather than universal truths. His philosophy focuses on strength and power, and he assumed that only men could achieve greatness. Today, we know both men and women can become leaders, artists, and thinkers. And therefore, Nietzsche's views on women belong to the past, but his ideas on human potential, creativity, and power remain important. And therefore, in a way, Nietzsche will inspire us and challenge us to strive for greatness instead of settling for mediocrity. He invites us to face life's struggles with courage rather than escaping into fantasy. And above all, he invites us to create our own values rather than blindly following traditions. So, this brings us to an end on Nietzsche's philosophy of the human person. Next time, we shall take a look at Nietzsche's philosophy of God, where he will elaborate on his famous quote, "God is dead," and also Nietzsche's harsh criticism on Christianity. So, till then, see you for next time.